Hi guys, Simon Trezellian, the voice of reason and the storyteller of great factional work. Okay, so we're gonna kick this off right from the basics, okay? And I'm gonna be telling you a lot of truths within the framework of story. See, the thing is with story, when humankind got together, they would express their experiences. And within those experiences, there would be information, there would be wisdom, there would be learning, there would be skills that would be dispensed. And people loved story. And that's why the parables, Aesop's fables, all of those things created, some of the greatest works of humankind. Because the story has to have purpose, it has to have reason. And then you get to school, and school, they don't tell you stories anymore, unless you go to a Montessori school or a Steiner school. They just give you information and get you to repeat it until you actually know it. It's parrot fashion. And of course, people hated school. Most people hated school. I hated school. So when people tell you things, there is this instant resistance, because if you're being told something that you don't know, they're elevating your ignorance and you don't like it because you thought that you were the best thing in the world. And then now someone seems to be better than you. So there's an automatic resistance. However, when someone tells you a story, you go, oh my God, that's just like that. Oh my God, that's just like my experience. And then you bring it into your heart, into your mind. And at that stage, things change. So we're going to go back to the origins. And I'm going to be furnishing you with a lot of information, a lot of wisdom, and probably a lot of wind chimes as well. The Santa Ana winds, which have created all the problems here, are blowing through. We've been told today and tomorrow is going to be critical. Okay, so let's have a look at the structure of story, and I'm going to be doing another video on this, and it's basically called the hero's journey. So every story that you've ever heard, every film that you've ever seen corresponds to Joseph Campbell's the hero's journey, and I'll go through that, and depending on on which versions that you read, is 13 parts to the hero's journey, or 17 parts, but we'll go through that at some point because it's important. It was interesting when I first created my first novel. The person that I was with, who turned out to be my wife eventually, said, "Oh, you've obviously read the hero's journey," and I went, "The what?" And I said, "No, I've never heard of the hero's journey." She goes, "Well, you've written the hero's journey, whether you like it or not." And sure enough, it was that. So let's look at a couple of stories, shall we? And we're going to look at some stories that you already know. Okay, so we're going to look at 3 specific stories. So we're going to look at the Lord of the Rings. We're going to look at Star Wars, right? And we're going to look at Harry Potter. And let's see if you can join the dots. Okay. So let's look at the hero, the protagonist in Lord of the Rings is Frodo Baggins. Frodo Baggins is an orphan. He lives with Bilbo Baggins, his uncle. And he is waiting for something to happen. Yeah? He's a person in waiting. In Star Wars, we have Luke Skywalker. He's an orphan, and he's living with his uncle. And he's disconsolate. He's waiting for something to happen. Harry Potter is an orphan, living with his uncle, and waiting for something to happen, right? And all 3 of these are remarkable people, and their world is literally dependent on them, right? Now, me, I was an orphan. I was living with adoptive parents, waiting for something to happen. So I correspond very much to these stories, and that's part of my history. So in this world that they live in, right, it's a magical world. So Frodo lives in Middle-earth, which is governed by magic. Star Wars is a world that is governed by magic, which they call the Force. And Harry Potter, his world, is governed by magic, which they call wizardry. Right? Now, the antagonist then is there in the background. We don't really see him first. But first of all, he meets the mentor. So with Lord of the Rings, Frodo meets Gandalf. Okay, so Gandalf is the wise mentor, this otherworldly type of being. In Star Wars, that worldly mentor is called Obi-Wan Kenobi. And in Harry Potter, he's called Dumbledore. Okay, you see the link. You see the story. It's the same story, right? Now, there is also a secret society that they join, essentially. In Lord of the Rings, it's the Fellowship of the Ring. Right? In Star Wars, it's the Jedi Order. And in Harry Potter, it's the Order of the Phoenix. Okay, same thing, exactly the same thing. So then he has like a deep friend, okay, and that friend, they fall in love. Now it's interesting, and it's always a forbidden love. It's always a love that is never consummated. Okay, it's not like a sexual love. It's a very, very deeper love. So in Lord of the Rings, the love interest for Frodo is actually Sam Gamgee. You know, so it's not a sexual love. It's just this absolute respect and deep, deep fellowship and love. In Star Wars, of course, Luke falls in love with Leia. That's another forbidden love because it's actually his sister, you know. So we get the feeling that they're all going to get together, but they can't, because it's a forbidden love and it's a deeper love than just the sexual attraction. In Harry Potter, it's Hermione. Okay, so he loves Hermione. And everyone thinks in book one, well, they're obviously going to get together. No, it's a forbidden love. It's a deeper love. So then you get the other guy who actually gets the girl, who is like the comic relief, you know. Now, in this story, it is actually Sam again, because Sam gets to marry Rosie in Lord of the Rings. Han Solo is in Star Wars, and he gets to get Leia. Oh my God, I can't believe this wind. I might have to stop this, I don't know. This is nuts. And of course, in Harry Potter, it's Rod Weasley. He gets Hermione in the end. Okay, so the hero doesn't get to, he's a higher calling. It's not just about boy meets girl and girl ends up with boy. Right? Then there is the protector, the large, giant protector. So in Lord of the Rings, it's Treebeard, yeah, the big Ent. In Star Wars, the big hairy one is Chewbacca. And in Harry Potter, it's Hagrid. Okay, same thing, same story, same line. And then there's this Dark Lord, right? So the Dark Lord is obviously Sauron in Lord of the Rings. It's Darth Vader in Star Wars. And it's Voldemort in Harry Potter. Again, same type of basic evil that taps into an unknown force that threatens the world. Then you have the Divine Feminine. So the Divine Feminine is part of the hero's journey as well. The Divine Feminine for Lord of the Rings is Galadriel, you know, the elfin maiden. In Star Wars, it becomes a more evolved Leia. Okay, so she becomes the Divine Feminine within that, and that's when she rises to become a senator. And then, of course, it's Mrs. McGonagall in Harry Potter. She is the Divine Feminine that helps Harry. And then you have the magic weapons. So we have the Ring of Power, which Frodo has, but he also has Sting, which is this magical sword that he was given by the Elven Smiths. In Star Wars, of course, it's a lightsaber. Same thing, all right? And in Harry Potter, it's his wand. Okay, so they all have to have this magical instrument that taps into the Force or taps into the magic, which allows them to operate against the darkness. And then you actually have they go on this journey, and it's the hero's journey that I'll come to in another thing. So essentially, Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings. Lucas obviously must have been inspired by Lord of the Rings to create Star Wars, and J.K. Rowling must have been inspired by Star Wars to create Harry Potter. And my book's very similar because it's a structured story. Okay, and it's like I'm the hero in my own story. I'm the orphan child. That's why my moniker is Poseidon's bastard son. You know, my secret society was called Trident, and I'd spent nearly 30 years in there. So you can see that every story corresponds to a structure. And that's how I'm going to begin telling you the stories of what is actually going on in the world. So this is Simon Trezelyan. Please like, share, repost, do what you need, because the world needs story right now. It doesn't need false narrative. This is Simon Trezelyan. I love you all. Out to you.